Welcome back to the Arise Report. I'm Amory Thomas. This episode of Arise will be different than the last. We will be exploring what the residents of Altadena experienced during their evacuations from the January 2025 Eaton Fire, in their own words and by the numbers. We will learn what happened as they became aware of the fire and what they felt as many left their homes for what would be the very last time. We will examine similarities and differences in what the people of Altadena experienced collectively, as well as what was experienced by different neighbors and groups across the diverse community. This episode contains sensitive content, but to understand what the people of Altadena experienced, we must explore these difficult events so they can achieve genuine accountability and transparency from the services and systems that failed them in myriad ways. 90.7% of Altadenans told us that they are home for the events of the Eaton Fire, an estimated 39,000 residents who were present that January night. Although 2.9% could not tell us when they became aware of the fire, 51% told us they became aware before 7 p.m., 41% between 7 and midnight, and after midnight, about 4.7%, with an average awareness time of 7:19 p.m. We see differences in comparing what we heard from East and West Altadenans. For East Altadena, the average first fire awareness time was 6:46 p.m. versus 7:36 p.m. in the West. 71.8% of the population in the East was aware of the fire before 7 p.m. versus 51.1% in the West. Between 7 and midnight, it was 28.2% in the East and 48.9% in the West. And after midnight, January 8th, less than 0.5% first became aware in the East, where more than 6.7% became first aware in the West. After becoming aware of the Eaton Fire, 57.3% of residents never expected that they would need to evacuate. In the East, this was significantly lower at 35.2% and much higher at 67.3% of the residents in the West, and even higher for Black residents at 79.8%. 64.5% of residents whose homes would be destroyed did not expect to evacuate. Worse, 85.8% of Altadena residents overall felt that they were provided with insufficient warning of the potential severity of the Eaton Fire. This sentiment was slightly lower in the East at 71.9% and higher in the West at 92.2%. Here's what some Altadenans shared about insufficient warnings and potential severity.
I was getting conflicting messages and thought I didn't need to leave immediately.
Had no idea anything like this would happen. Nothing was relayed to us that something could potentially happen.
We were not prepared mentally, and looking back, I think we should have been forcefully warned for a worst-case scenario.
I wish we were informed from anyone how dangerous this could be. Had we been put on alert and had severity been emphasized, we would have packed more.
We asked Altadena residents if they had received a notification from Southern California Edison about power shutoffs before the fire. 43.4% reported that they did not receive notification, a figure that was higher among Black residents at 56.6%. 65.2% of residents reported losing electrical power in their homes prior to evacuating. Among them, 69.3% reporting that this would interfere with the speed and safety of their eventual evacuations. This percentage was higher in the Calaveras A fire zone at 75%, White Park B at 76.2%, Palm at 76.8%, Garden at 78.3%, and Farnsworth at 90%. 9.1% of Altadena residents reported losing water pressure prior to their evacuation, with a slightly higher proportion with residents using Lincoln Avenue as their supplier. Less than 1% of Altadena residents reported having their gas supply cut off remotely prior to evacuation, an issue that we will revisit in a future episode. About 1 in 4 Altadenans took defensive actions to protect their homes and properties prior to evacuation, with a slightly lower proportion amongst those whose homes would be later destroyed, a higher proportion amongst Black residents, and even higher proportions in the fire zones of White Park B, Millard, Farnsworth, and Mendocino D, topping out at nearly half the population. What methods did these Altadena residents use to attempt to protect their homes? Nearly 69% used their garden hoses, 26.9% used their irrigation or sprinklers, 10.3% attempted to cut brush and trees, while only 3.7% utilized a pool pump with a hose. Only 27.7% of Altadenans had personal protective equipment, such as masks or other devices designed to reduce their exposure to harm during evacuations. The County of Los Angeles commissioned its own multi-million-dollar study last year with a narrow focus on the service failures of its emergency alert systems. This next section of our report provides even more detail on how Altadenans experienced these failures. Here's what 1,114 Altadena residents who were present for the Eaton Fire told us about the county's evacuation orders, down to the level of Altadena's fire evacuation zones. Based on the Arise survey, we know that 51.2% of Altadena residents did not receive an official evacuation order. This proportion was higher for elders aged 65 or older at 56%, and nearly 60% for Hispanic and Latinx residents. Residents whose homes would be destroyed were also about 60.5%. In East Altadena, only 34.1% of residents would report not receiving an official evacuation order, while in West Altadena, the proportion would be 59% of residents. Over the following series of graphics, which cluster fire zones by Altadena residents who did not receive evacuation orders, we see expected values of higher and higher percentages of Altadenans in fire zones west of Lake reporting never having received an evacuation order, upwards from 50, 60, or 75% of the zone's population. The zones with the greatest percentages include Farnsworth, Wapello, Laurel, and Calaveras A. This is particularly troubling when we cross-reference the location of the Los Angeles County Fire Department's original command post before it was abandoned and the general area where a majority of resident lives were lost in Altadena. For Altadena residents who were fortunate enough to receive evacuation orders, 9.9% could not recall exactly when they received them. 38.9% of Altadena's residents could. 44.6% received their evacuation orders before midnight, 38.6% received them on the 8th before 4 a.m., while 12.2% received them after 4 a.m. on the 8th. East Altadena's mean was 8:51 p.m., West Altadena's mean was 2:45 a.m. In this series of graphics, we see the average time for receipt of official evacuation orders clusters in fire zones in the 8 o'clock hour, the 9 o'clock hour, between 10 and midnight, between midnight and 3 a.m., and finally those with mean time of orders received after 3 a.m. Again, overlaying the general location of the area where a majority of Altadena's lives were lost. Many Altadenans shared dramatic narratives about official evacuation orders.
I am grateful for the friend that called to tell me to get out. I never received an alert.
I believe we should have been warned that the fire was getting close to us. No one even bothered to send us a message or let us know.
We were shocked to not get any warning to get ready to evacuate. Not even yellow for our zone, even though it was red all around us. That makes no sense.
We never received an evacuation alert on our phones till 7 a.m. Wednesday in a Pasadena hotel, hours after our house burned down.
I am furious as we received no evacuation order until Thursday afternoon, 2 days after the fire destroyed our home.
In reference to less than half of Altadena residents, Los Angeles County's evacuation orders were received via a number of channels. About 68% received them via inbuilt emergency smartphone alerts, 31.2% via text message, and only 29.1% via Genesis Protect or the nonprofit Watch Duty app. Some additional methods, 9.7% said that they had a visit from first responders or heard a loudspeaker, about 8% had someone that they knew come to tell them to get out, and less than 5% combined received their order from traditional broadcast media like television or radio. About 70% of residents evacuated immediately upon receiving their official evacuation order, while just under 30% did not. Of the estimated 4,500 Altadenans who did not, 28% chose to evacuate before the order due to imminent danger, and 45% didn't evacuate because the official order from LA County came too late. In evacuation, nearly all Altadena residents evacuated with motor vehicles, with only one resident indicating that a first responder provided them with a ride. Just over 1% of Altadena residents saw any wayfinding or signage to help them escape from the Eaton Fire. About 4% were told by first responders that they were standing down and could not render direct aid. Only 1.4% of Altadenans received direct assistance to evacuate, while more than 4.4% evacuated only after their home had already caught on fire. This represents an estimated 1,800 Altadenan residents. Most troubling, only 7.9% of Altadenans witnessed active firefighting by Los Angeles County Fire during their evacuations. In East Altadena, this was 15.8% of residents. In West Altadena, this was 4.3% of residents. We see the same trend when we cluster the fire zones to compare percentages of Altadenans who witness active firefighting, but as we follow along with these fire zone-based analyses, we keep encountering the same patterns. Altadena's residents repeatedly report reduced services and outcomes in the West every time. With the fire zones where no active firefighting was witnessed by residents coinciding with the general area where a majority of Altadena's residents lost their lives. Many Altadenans shared stories that contravene the service narratives of county leaders.
We were redlined. No evacuation alert or notice. No sheriff cars telling us to evacuate. No firefighters in our area. No fire trucks. West Altadena was left to burn and die.
I am saddened. There was no proper notification of imminent danger in our area. No sirens, no fire trucks, no sheriff deputies knocking on doors.
I received absolutely no notice to evacuate at any time. 2 elderly people on my block died in the fire. Why was there no one in an official capacity driving through the neighborhoods to ensure that residents were aware that the fire was coming?
Firefighters should have attempted to protect our property. They just let our homes burn up.
More than 4 out of 5 Altadenans were exposed to a range of hazards during their evacuations to safety. From high winds that slowed movement, fallen trees, and abandoned cars that blocked streets, low visibility making it difficult to navigate, heavy smoke making it difficult to breathe, aerial debris, soot, and embers, down power lines blocking streets, buildings, trees, and vehicles on fire in the path to safety. Only 17.3% experienced none of these hazards during their evacuations from Altadena. We asked Altadenans on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 representing no fear at all, and 10 representing the maximum level of fear they'd experienced in their entire lives, how much fear they felt during their evacuation from the Eaton Fire. At a mean of 6.8 out of 10, more than 61% of Altadenans reported high to extreme levels of fear. We also asked on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 representing no difficulty at all and 10 representing the maximum level of difficulty that they had experienced in their lives, how much difficulty they experienced during evacuation. At a mean of 4.6, more than 30% of Altadenans reported high or extreme levels of difficulty. Our team evaluated the level of fear and difficulty reported by Altadena residents and reflected on the level of anxiety likely experienced, the degree of self-sufficiency, and how first responders might classify their situations. We were able to cluster the population into 4 categories. Almost 19% of Altadenans could be identified as experiencing low fear and low difficulty. 2.5% of Altadenans could be classified as experiencing low difficulty but high fear. 28.2% of Altadenans were experiencing high difficulty but low fear. And just over half of Altadenans were experiencing both high levels of fear and high difficulty. Less than 1,000 Altadenans were alarmed and overwhelmed during their evacuation. About 7,500 were calm and capable. About 11,000 were alert and imperiled. And 19,500 could be considered critically endangered, slightly more than half of the entire population evacuating. 13.1% of Altadena residents believe that they would not survive their evacuation, higher at 18.6% of Black residents, and higher again at 24.2% of Hispanic and Latinx residents. This represents approximately 5,000 Altadena residents who believe that they would die that night. We asked Altadena residents about negative household health outcomes from the Eaton Fire. 15.9% reported minor cuts or bruises that could be self-treated. 1.6% reported serious injuries that required an emergency room visit. 6.8% of residents reported chronic injuries or conditions that require ongoing treatment. Less than 0.5% reported at least one overnight hospital stay. And less than 0.5% reported that a member of their immediate household had passed away due to the fire. Nearly 80% of Altadenans reported none of these outcomes in their household. In this final section of analysis, we will be summarizing key statistics we shared from the people of Altadena in the specific areas where community members lost their lives. In East Altadena, where one fatality occurred, 57.3% said that loss of power interfered with their evacuation. 71.9% had insufficient warning of the potential severity of the Eaton Fire. 34.1% never received an official evacuation order from Los Angeles County, and 15.8% witnessed Los Angeles County firefighters taking action to fight fires. Compared to West Altadena, where 18 fatalities occurred, 72.4% said that loss of power interfered with their evacuation. 92.2% had insufficient warning of the potential severity of the Eaton Fire. 59% never received an official evacuation order from the County of Los Angeles, and 4.3% witnessed Los Angeles County firefighters taking actions to fight fires. Moving to the fire evacuation zones to Mendocino B, where one fatality occurred, 67.6% said that loss of power interfered with their evacuation. 68.3% had insufficient warning of the potential severity of the Eaton Fire. 28% never received an official evacuation order from Los Angeles County, and 6.1% witnessed Los Angeles County firefighters taking action to fight fires in their area. In the Garden Fire Zone, where one fatality occurred, 78.3% said that loss of power interfered with their evacuation. 87.5% had insufficient warning of the potential severity of the Eaton Fire. 45% never received an official evacuation order from Los Angeles County, and 0%, that's none, witnessed Los Angeles County firefighters taking actions to fight fires in this zone. In the Calaveras B Fire Zone, where 3 fatalities occurred, 73.5% said that loss of power interfered with their evacuation. 89.2% had insufficient warning of the potential severity of the Eaton Fire. 69.9% never received an official evacuation order from Los Angeles County, and 12.9% witnessed county firefighters taking actions to fight fires in this zone. In the White Park A Fire Zone, where 3 fatalities occurred, 72.3% said that loss of power interfered with their evacuation. 96.8% had insufficient warning of the potential severity of the Eaton Fire. 47.4% never received an official evacuation order from the County of Los Angeles. Only 3.2% witnessed county firefighters taking action to fight fires in this zone. In the Farnsworth Fire Zone, where 3 fatalities occurred, 90% said that loss of power interfered with their evacuation. 96% had insufficient warning of the potential severity of the Eaton Fire. 72% never received an official evacuation order from the County of Los Angeles, and again 0%, that's no residents, witnessed county firefighters taking action to fight fires. Consider the information for Farnsworth Fire Zone carefully in the context as the location for the original command post for Los Angeles County Fire before it was abandoned for the Rose Bowl. In the Palm Fire Zone, where 4 fatalities occurred, 76.8% said that loss of power interfered with their evacuation. 96.2% had insufficient warning of the potential severity of the Eaton Fire. 67.2% never received an official evacuation order from the County of Los Angeles, and only 3.1% witnessed Los Angeles County firefighters taking action to fight fires in this zone. Finally, in the Wapello Fire Zone, where 4 fatalities occurred, 66.7% said that loss of power interfered with their evacuation. 96.8% had insufficient warning of the potential severity of the Eaton Fire. 74.2% never received an official evacuation order from the County of Los Angeles, and only 1.6% below the margin of error, witnessed county firefighters taking action to fight fires in Wapello. It takes more than future intentions, thoughts, or prayers to comprehend the voices of those with lived experience. It requires that we all listen to those who have endured and acknowledge what they have to say. Leaders especially must possess willingness to move beyond their own pride, assumptions, defensiveness, and potentially ignorance designed to advance their own goals if we genuinely seek to change things for the better or to ensure that they never happen again. In their own words and responses, the people of Altadena have identified serious deficiencies in how emergency services were delivered to them in their long hours of need. They told us what they saw. It is also telling what they did not see. More than 9 out of 10 Altadenans did not see Los Angeles County firefighters taking actions to extinguish fires or render aid. More than 9 out of 10 Altadenans received no assistance of any kind to evacuate. More than half of Altadenans received no evacuation orders, despite claims from county leaders that their agency's actions saved thousands of lives, without any proof, without any evidence. Over 1 year later, there's only one narrative that continues to matter: the voices of those who were there, the voices of those who survived, and our acknowledgement of those who did not. For now, we leave you in silence, in remembrance of the members of the Altadena community who did not survive the terrible events of the January 2025 Eaton Fire.